As a member of the Zeitgeist movement, one of the things I recognise is how poverty is undoubtedly wasteful and unnecessary. In my previous video titled Trading is Corrupt, I talked about how trading causes a social addiction to wealth, and how any variation of this addiction, mild to extreme, isn't good for public health. It's why we have people promoting lies, deception.
I challenge you, move in faith. Call the number on your screen. Let me send you the miracle spring water.
Men and women are receiving unexpected sums of miracle money after calling for their free packet of miracle spring water.
She got a blessing of $10,000.
Divine transfers are taking place supernaturally.
Here's a testimony that confirms what I was preaching about tonight. She got $1 million divine transfer. Amen?
People do this to attempt to gain a privileged social position over large amounts of people, hence a social hierarchy forms in a situation of trading or free market capitalism. I'm not picking on the word capitalism because any ism, fascism, socialism, communism, includes trading, so therefore ensures poverty and deceptive behaviours. But capitalism most aligns with the words trading and property. Trading, buying or selling securities or commodities. Property, something owned, any tangible or intangible possession that is owned by someone. Capitalism, an economic system based on private ownership of capital. So for the sake of definition, it's clear to me that trading or property is capitalism. Moving on, in order to keep this social pyramid an extremely unnatural state of social affairs, it comes at a ridiculous and technically unnecessary cost. Instead of building a free, public access transportation system of clean electric GPS vehicles, as many that would be socially required for people to be moved around in, we have an anti-system of violence, where the private car that you can afford is a piece of shit, it's dirty, it intentionally breaks down, so you're forced to pay for it being fixed, and while you own this piece of shit car, someone who's wealthy, with a brain-damaged ideology to justify it, believes it's his right to cut himself off from the rest of society with a disgusting display of wealth by owning a car which is obviously still technically inefficient. But the idea of looking down on someone by owning something better than you causes stress. Relative poverty, distorted social values, and absolute poverty, basic human requirements in danger. This is not only violent, it's wasteful. And what's required isn't pursued, and instead the biased position of the rich towering over the poor for the sake of satisfying a wealth addiction is the preference. Violent, biased claims will obviously follow. The poor are inferior because I paid a bunch of scientists to say they are. This is biased propaganda. The fact is, society is healthier when we work together as equals, so to speak. People will chant communism to such a statement because they've gotten comfortable to either being the wealth addict and towering over the poor, or comfortable to being poor and having covert social structure violence forced upon them. Well, science demands that you get out of your comfort zone. And this social system, which is held as most sacred, needs the most revision and testing. Because by simple deduction, it appears that trading is a complete fraud and there's no such thing as fair exchange. Class division, or earning your right to life, causes stress and therefore social problems, violence, sickness, whoring oneself, etc. However, those who religiously believe in free and equal exchange ignore these violent social structure elements of our deeply flawed antisocial system, arbitrarily claiming trading is not the problem, government or the state is the problem. It's the source of all of our problems. As if the government is somehow magically disconnected from the market board game, and is the only entity which wants to seek competitive advantage. I don't think so. What about food? Unnecessary duplication for the sake of a monetary profit obsession which does not reflect the true demand of human requirements? Along with the haphazard, unnecessary duplication is the constant assumption of scarcity in play. So if you can't afford food, tough luck, which again is a structurally violent element of our social system. Can't afford food, yeah, we overproduce food. Well, we're going to dump it, for the sake of the market religion. Total insanity. This social system is offensive, with the poor being given low-class food, or no food at all, while the rich, due to their brain damage, justify to themselves a position of having an obscene surplus. Also due to the market's insidious nature, some foods we don't even need, yet if they can sell it to us, they make a profit. Technically speaking, everyone can have access to food, water, shelter. This would be done by a well-calculated survey of the true demand of human requirements. We need this change, since the arrangement of rich versus poor classes due to trading is exhausting the planet's natural resources. All the calculating that goes on with GDP, the stock exchange, prices rising and falling are all completely useless. The motivation for scarcity to exist for the sake of monetary profit creates biased pseudoscientific measures. All they can display is dysfunction, since they don't reflect human or environmental health. True scientific and social progress is not achieved through a scarcity, trading-based atmosphere. So all of those market measurements are disconnected from reality. We need something different. What about housing? Presently, we'll have a brain-damaged wealthy individual owning a 50,000 room mansion while the poor live in cardboard boxes. Totally unjustifiable, but is embraced by society which thinks trading is a good idea. To counter this, I've heard an extremely violent attitude from equal or fair trade loving people who say, if you don't like trading, or if you don't believe in property, well, it must be okay for me to walk into your house and take your stuff. When people say things like this, it's important to recognise their disconnection from reality, since the only form of violence they consider to exist is blatant, not covert, or they don't want covert violence to be known or recognised. Trading is a covert form of violence, since both opponents want to use deception to gain the better end of the deal. Trading is not to be confused with sharing, since they're opposites. With the slavish attitude of, that's just the way it is, I'd say covert violence enables blatant violence, and therefore is much more insidious. So, the goal of the Zeitgeist movement is to remove this unnecessarily wasteful situation from society, which is designed to instill the message of inferiority towards the poor. Socially speaking, eugenics still seems to be believed, regardless of the science which proves it's nonsense. How else would a society justify itself with disregarding its most weak and vulnerable?
I'm rich because of my great divine holy genes, while you're poor because of corrupt, evil satanic genes.
But let's get even more ridiculous. The reason why this person is poor while I'm rich is because they didn't try hard enough to get a job! Such a statement is so flawed for a few reasons. 1.
Endlessly manipulable
wealth,
and as predictable as you would think. There's a whole set of unbelievably interesting studies. I want to give you two that call into question this idea that if you reward
The
something...
most wealthy are the most deceptive, brain-damaged individuals who basically use sophisticated gambling methods to gain more wealth. Such individuals urgently need medical treatment, not societal praise for their actions. 2. The market is a free-for-all of disorganized jobs. It is believed that social competition will magically get the jobs that need doing done, which ignores the gravity of self-interest in the trading concept. The act of looking for a job is a job, and obtaining a boring, scarcity-driven job is considered a privilege. And since labour isn't organised into what needs to be done to enable a functioning society, we live in a society which wants to and enjoys failing. 3. Technology replacing jobs outright while telling people to go get a job. What are these market religion inclined politicians going to do? Are they going to say, as a member of the Zeitgeist movement, one of the things I recognise is how poverty is undoubtedly wasteful and unnecessary.